If you're looking to level up your blues rhythm skills, then this lesson can help. You're going to pick up a Delta blues style straight eighth riff, but we're really going to focus on bending time a little bit so that the riff takes on a completely different feel. And this will give you options when you're playing rhythms so you don't get stuck in shuffle land. You know, that place where you just play the same old blues thing over and over and over. We don't want that. So let's take a minute and give your blues rhythms an upgrade. Let's kick things off by learning a Delta blues riff from a course I'm putting together for my BGI members. It's got an old school vibe, and it's a great riff to build an entire blues jam around. Here's the riff. Let's take a look at the turnaround, which works great as an intro as well. We're going to play the open 6th string and then brush up on the top 2 strings. And that idea is going to continue through the next bit as we fret the D note, 5th string, 5th fret, and then brush up. So we're doing the thumb bass and then the brush up thing. And we're going to continue that, just moving down the 5th string until we get to the B. That's the 2nd fret. Right, it's that classic blues descending chromatic line there. All right. Now, before we work our way through the rest of the turnaround, there's something really cool that we can do to really punch this up. Instead of with your thumb picking the 5th string just kind of down each time, and you get that nice sound. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really clean. What we can do instead to add some attack on this is just roll the thumb slightly under the 5th string, and then you push out, right? Instead of the thumb stroke being down, it's kind of from behind and out. My thumb is kind of coming right towards you, right? And that helps to get that pop sound, which to me adds a lot to this part. And then at the end, we've just got 3 notes there to wrap that up as we head into the B7, which is the open 6th string, and then the 5th string 1st fret, and then the B note there on the 2nd fret. From here, we're just going to do 2 strum ups. And here we don't have to be super careful. We can get as wild with this as we want because we've got the chord fretted. So we're playing notes that are going to work here. We don't have to worry if we overstrum, right? We can do 2 up and then 1 down, and the downstroke there is with my index finger, and you're hearing the nail kind of scrape against the strings. And then finally we'll do another brush up, but this time I pick up the chord because we're going to do a chord change here. So we've just got this kind of breath stroke as we change chords, right? So altogether, the turnaround or intro is now from here. This is the repeating riff that we're going to learn next. Now what we're doing is that same thing with the thumb bass brush up happening, but notice I've got an E major fretted here, okay? So bass, brush up, then I'm coming down and I'm placing my little finger on the C sharp. That's the 2nd fret of the 2nd string here. It's hard to see, but it's coming in where it wasn't before. That string was open, so you get that sound. But what's really selling this part is that stab, right? That punchy way that we're attacking the chord. And that's all about the picking here. I'm coming down again with one of those index finger kind of strums, and then I'm muting the chord out. I'm really targeting the top 3 strings here with my strum, right? And then we kind of breathe a little bit. We go open 6th string and then lifting up with the little finger on the fretboard. We're just playing the top 3 strings open. Then we're going to end the riff with this little bass tag. And what we're doing here is the open 6th string, the G on the 3rd fret 6th string, which you can play with your little finger. I like to do that so that I'm still holding the chord. That's my home base and I never really leave it. Right? But if you need to get out the ring finger here to help you out, totally cool to do that as well. But after that note, the G, it's open 4th string and then hammer up to the E on the 2nd fret 4th string. Right? Now just loop that a little bit because this riff is a good one to jam on. And you might consider adding some variations like I did there in the 4th bar, where instead of coming back to the open chord, I go move up to the E7. It's a good way to build a little bit of tension as you're maybe changing chords. And what we can do here, 2 upstrokes, the bass note, and then the top strings. Let's slow that down. And let's slow the whole riff down. That's the core riff, and it might seem tricky at first, but take some time and focus on the tricky bits separately, like maybe throwing that bass note on the offbeat, or some of that scratch strumming, and even the brush ups can be a little bit tricky. When you take time and master the riff, you're going to find that you're building skills that go beyond just this riff. You're going to level up your overall rhythm skills, and that's going to help you get to a point where you're ready to start adding some cool variations and some embellishments. One big variation that you can make here is to vary up the strumming. And the strumming, again, is done, downstrokes are done with the index finger, and you kind of get the nail, sounds like a flat pick really. And then the upstrokes are just a brush up with the fingertip, the underside of your index finger. And the cool thing is you can create these cool little rhythmic variations just by experimenting. And notice I'm doing like 3 in a row there with the upstrokes. It gives it a different vibe entirely to me than this. Okay, maybe it's subtle, but it is really cool, and it's a variation that you can make easily to this riff to really flesh it out. The other thing that you can do is maybe change up the bass tag. You could do it in reverse. Change up the notes. So instead of doing that, which we covered before, we could just do a pull off from the E to the D and then the G, right? Back into the riff, or different note entirely, right there under the chord. Pull off 4th string, the B note on the 5th string, and then back to the E. And you can see how you can combine these to really improvise and create something pretty cool just surrounding this riff on your own. See how we can take the structure of the riff and play with it a little bit just to put our own spin on it? That's one of the coolest things about the blues. And now we've got a solid foundation to build from. So let's change one more thing and see just how much it changes the entire feel of the riff. So many blues tunes have a shuffling, swinging kind of rhythm driving the groove. It's a different feel from that straight 8th note riff that we just learned. The shuffle feel comes from subdividing a 4/4 beat into triplet subdivisions. And then we omit that middle triplet and we get this kind of laid back, flat tire sound. But Our riff, the example riff, has a more straight ahead drive to it. That's the straight eighth sound at work. So let's compare the two rhythms back to back. Hear how the shuffle version has more of a lazy, bouncing kind of groove. It dances a bit more compared to the straight riff's more direct feel. It's kind of up front and in your face. Keep this in mind. The tempo is the same. We're not changing the pace. We're just changing how we divide the space. And this is huge. It completely changes the personality of the riff, and it may send you in a completely different direction when you jam on it. And that's great. One little adjustment and the whole attitude shifts. But let's dig a little bit deeper and make sure that you can convert that straight ahead riff into a laid back shuffle-based groove. Modifying our riff from straight eighths to a shuffle groove is all about what we do with the offbeat notes. With that even eighth note spacing, the offbeats happen right in between the main beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 a 1. But for a shuffle, we need to shift those offbeats toward the main beat. We push those notes that are in between, we swing them. You'll often hear this triplet-based swing counted as if there's just a pushed eighth note like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. If you struggle with that, it might be because you aren't quite sure just how close you need to put the and to the next main beat. And if that's you, then try counting it out as triplets, nice and evenly like this. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. But then we're going to omit where we say the word or the syllable trip. So here's the bluesy shuffle count, omitting the middle beat. 1, let 2, let 3, let 4, let 1. Now, I know it sounds a bit silly, and I really don't know of anyone else that counts the blues shuffle like that. 1, let 2, let 3. You'll want to switch to the ands because that's what's commonly done, but this can be a really good sort of middle step to help you dial in the pulse and the feel of that flat tire groove. Let's take a look at our main riff played with the shuffle feel, and let's do it a little bit slower so we can really hear that shuffle bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. There it is, that shuffling, swinging rhythm that we're going for, and it gives us a very different groove than the straight 8 riff. They both sound great, and they're both fun to play, and you can choose one over the other, whichever suits your current mood. The point is, now you have options. Remember earlier when I mentioned that this riff can help you build your rhythm skills beyond just this one riff? Well, there's one fundamental rhythm skill underneath all of this, and you need to build this skill to help you nail dead-on straight 8 jams or groove along to a slippery shuffle. Get this core skill down, and you're going to feel your groove tighten up. So watch this video next to learn what this skill is and my favorite exercise for building it. This skill will pay dividends every time you pick up the guitar. So I'll see you over there. Until then, practice smart and play on.